Welcome to a video on the differences between the Catholics and the Protestants. These two branches of Christianity share a foundation but also have unique traditions, beliefs and worship styles that sets them apart. Today we'll cover the key differences from the role of Pope to the views on sacraments and worship. So let's dive in. Chapter 1: Historical and Authoritative Differences. The Reformation. The Protestant Reformation began in the 16th century, initiated by the figures like Martin Luther, who challenged certain practices within the Catholic Church. This led to the birth of Protestants, emphasizing direct access to the scriptures without church hierarchy. Authority sources. Catholics believes in the authority of both the Bible and church traditions, with the Pope as the central figure. Protestants follow sola scriptura, which means Bible alone is the supreme authority. The spiritual role. The Pope serves as spiritual leader of the Catholic Church, whereas Protestants generally don't recognize the Pope's authority and they rely on their pastors and councils. The salvation and grace. Faith versus faith and works. Catholic believes salvation is the combination of faith and good works, emphasizing that actions can reflect and strengthen faith, where Protestant believes salvation comes through faith alone. Belief in Jesus is what ensures salvation. Role of grace. In Catholics, grace is imparted through sacraments like baptism and communion. Protestants often view grace as gift from God, accessible through personal faith. Original sin and baptism. Both branches acknowledge original sin, but Catholics view baptism as a means of washing it away at birth, where Protestants also practice baptism, but often view as personal declaration of faith rather than a cleansing. Working practice and sacraments. Sacraments. Catholic observes 7 sacraments such as baptism, confirmation, and marriage, each marking stages of spiritual life. Most Protestant churches sees 2 sacraments, baptism and communion, seeing others as symbolic but not necessary for salvation. Communion differences. In Catholics, communion involves transubstantiation, the belief that bread and wine becomes the body and blood of Christ. For many Protestants, communion is just a symbolic act in the memory of Jesus' sacrifice. Confession. Catholics practice confession to a priest as a means of forgiveness and penance. In Protestant churches, confession is often direct to God without requiring an intermediate person. Confirmation practices. Catholics' confirmation is sacrament affirming one's faith, usually conducted by a bishop. Protestants may offer a similar ceremony, but it's more often a personal affirmation than a formal sacrament. Veneration of Mary and the saints. Mary's role. Catholics honor Mary, the mother of Jesus, and often seek her intercession through prayer. Protestants respect Mary's role but don't see her as intercessor, focusing on Jesus only as the sole mediator. Saints and prayer. Catholics ask saints to intercede, believing these figures are spiritually close to God. In case of Protestants, they pray directly to the God and do not seek intercession from saints. Church practices and symbols. Mass versus worship services. Catholic Mass centers on Eucharist and follows a structured format, while Protestant services emphasize preaching or Bible reading, with communion celebrated less frequently. Liturgical calendar. Catholics observe a set calendar with feasts like Lent, Easter, and Advent. Some Protestant churches also follow the liturgical calendar, but many focus on simpler individual observances. Church symbols and art. Catholic churches are often adorned with statues, crucifix, and elaborate artwork, where Protestant churches are typically more minimalist, emphasizing an empty cross symbolize Christ's resurrection. Beliefs about afterlife and doctrines. Purgatory. Catholics believe in purgatory, a place where purification before heaven. Most Protestants don't believe in purgatory, with seeing salvation through faith as granting immediate access to heaven. Canonization of saints. Catholics formally canonize saints and venerate them as role models, where Protestants honor them, respect them within their communities but generally don't canonize them. So these were some differences between Catholics and Protestants. Thank you for watching video. Stay tuned for more.